Hello and welcome back to Mirror's Signal podcast, your weekly podcast sponsored by Knowledgablee Instructor Training, award-winning CPD providers. Stay tuned to the episode to get your discount code from them. Today's episode, we are joined by Stefan, who talks about his qualifying process, and we really delve into the part 3, part 2, and we talk about the part 1 and what helped him get through the process. So a lot of CPD and people that helped Stefan on his journey to become an ADI. So lots of topics covered in this episode and some good insights for people either preparing to become a driving instructor or people looking for their own development. If you're enjoying these episodes, please make sure that you hit the subscribe button wherever you're watching or listening. You can also give the episode a share if you think people might benefit from it. If you've got any questions for me or would like any more information on the show, you can find me on the Facebook page or in the Facebook group, and that's available at Mirror's Signal Podcast. For now, we will get on with the episode. Stefan, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. Thanks for joining me. And we've just been having a good chat. So I'm looking forward to this episode and hearing about your journey to qualifying. And I've seen you a lot on socials. I think we bumped into you as well at the expo. So I know that you're getting amongst the CPD and all the great training that's out there. So it's going to be good to hear some of that. But before we get onto it, how's things going as an ADI?
Yeah, good, good. Recently qualified, so about 7 months now on the job. Um, I can clearly see why I passed my part three. Um, and I sort of like put some of the stuff. So I've taken more CPD after part three. I've taken quite a lot before part three because I'm just not one of those people that can very kind of fast. I need a lot of practice to do stuff. So I've applied a lot of stuff that the examiner said in part three. Then I've taken some more CPD, and that's sort of like books, reading books. I've got some Zoom classes. They're monthly. Just put them into practice, and it really really works. But it's just you got to figure out who it works for. Every learner is slightly different, so it's about having that toolkit. A lot of ideas in your hat that you can kind of pull out and apply it. See which one works.
That's what I enjoy about CPD. There's something I want to go back to in a moment, but something that you've said there really resonates with me. It's like having tools in the toolkit. It's all well and good having this one tool that works well for most people or most things. But what happens when that doesn't work? And I think that's where CPD really comes in. The more you do, the more you can just kind of call upon when it's needed to address a situation or whatever it is. And I like that. That's the way I see mine is like I just want to learn something somewhere that will help eventually with something. And once you start picking up things, whether it's industry specific or from outside of the industry that's teaching specific or learning specific, one day it will come in handy if it's not straight away.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember starting the journey as a PDI, and I felt like a learner again. Yes, a lot of people on socials were saying, well, remember that you are an experienced driver and you will know more than whoever gets in the car with you. You will. It's just about sort of passing on knowledge appropriately and making sure you do it in a safe way. Yeah, I kind of struggle with that one at start, but it does get so much better if you just do enough training, which can be can vary. Some people will just get it faster, some people will just do more. Yeah.
So without taking on another tangent of what you just said there, I'm going to go back to what you said earlier. And you said, I think you said, exactly why you passed your part three. I don't know whether I've made a few words up there, but I was like, oh, okay, I'd like to hear about that. So we're here to talk about your qualifying journey plus a few other bits. But can we go back to that, what you said about, why you passed your part three? Could you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah. So I had one failed pass through, and I'm not shy to sort of like go about it. Bit of frustration at the end there. I had about 20-minute talk with the examiner. I wrote a few things down that he said to make sure I understand it, and I go back to some of my trainers and talk about that. But it did take me a while to understand why. So, sort of like to answer your question, I got to refer back to sort of like what Lee's 1 hour workshop is, and 3 simple steps. Watch the learner, such a big one, such a big task, such a big thing that we have to be really, really good at. Identifying some goals and needs, um, and teaching around goals and risk. That's how I knew I passed, because I tried so hard during those 45 minutes to do that really, really good. Um, and then the feedback at the end as well. He kind of reflected, like I finished my part three, we got back to the test center. The learner was like, well, have you passed? What's going on? And I'm like, I don't know. You gotta take him. He's going back to the test center, and I gotta wait. So I don't know. And he came back. He kind of waved at me, and we had a chat. And I was kind of before he came out, I was like, I was watching him. Like, I'm pretty good. I was for them 45 minutes. I made sure I'm watching him, and the goal was there. We found some needs there. I adapted a lot because we got stuck in a couple of roundabouts, really big traffic. And I taught to the best of my abilities to try and make sure that some learning is taking place. So these are the 3 things that I really tried to do really well in part three, and that's how I knew. Even before he came back, I was like, I can't see why you would fail me. I can't see. I just if he does, then I need more training. I need more. It's like 500 pounds. Yeah, that was the big one.
That's where a lot of my focus has been recently is watching the student identify their needs and help them kind of learn where we need to. Had you done much CPD before your first part three, or was it the first part three that kind of spurred you on to then go and do more training and develop? Kind of what happened there between the first and second?
So I guess I was quite unlucky to have 2 part 3s cancelled, both with the usual email, your examiner is not feeling well, which was like, oh man, I gotta wait another few months. And now you start thinking, I gotta extend my paint license, and then what do I do with the income? I'm not even sure if we can. Well, what if I don't pass? I didn't have any problems with my theory expiring because went through quite fast. Um, but yeah, so I essentially it got cancelled twice. I didn't take my first part three until 7 months after I started on the paint license. And I pretty much, yeah, even though I was unlucky with having those cancelled, I was lucky with the fact that I was so present on social media and I was joining all these instructor groups, whatever I can find, um, that I kind of got the gist of it, which like there's so many trainers, and a lot of them I didn't really know the names of. Like, is he even good? I don't know. But all the advices that they were giving were very similar. Like, get more training, get more. Like, if you go into your part three and you're not feeling prepared, like if you're feeling like a learner on the test, like that's not a good idea. That's don't be there. So I did 40 hours, quite well, during that. I think I was halfway through and I didn't even take my part two. So training was kind of fast. I managed to sort it out quite easily. I had a full-time job then. I think it was every Saturday. I was meeting up with my trainer, full day every week. And we managed to sort of like go through it quite fast. So much fun. Still remember the first time I got an instructor seat. And he was like, okay, let me teach you how to watch the learner. This is so weird. Like I'm usually the one driving. Why am I ever going to watch you? It's just like, aren't you supposed to know everything? And I just kind of like look at you. And then dual controls. He was like, okay, well, you're going to have to, so let's do what we did, I think, was a reverse bay park. And I was doing the pedals and he was doing the steering. I was like, wow, this is so weird. So much fun. Loved it. Loved it. Finished my 40 hours and like most people, I went to my first lesson thinking, I don't know what I'm doing. My trainer was like, make some lesson plans. And I got so many resources of how to teach the clutch, how to teach blah blah blah. Yeah, I went through it, booked some more. I had learners coming in because I swapped from having a part-time job and being a driving instructor. That was horrible. I was like, no time for self-reflection. I was like, no, I can't do this. I can't even sleep at night. So I went to full-time being a driving instructor, and that was a bit better because I was having 2 hour lessons, 1 hour in between lessons. Even though there was a bit of a travel time between my learners, I still had time to chill. 5, 10 minutes. How did it go? And yeah, often it was like, why did you say that? Why did you do that? Like that makes no sense. But over time, it does get better. It does get easier. And the lucky part as well was the fact that I had them 2 part 3s cancelled, so lots of time to do more. But I didn't know how much more I needed. So I started off with some of those free Zoom sessions that people will offer on whatever they want. Use the mirrors for an hour, how to teach that. How's the perception, how to teach that. Whatever was free, I was just signed up for it as long as I was at work or something like that. To be fair, even at work, I had a couple of workshops on my break. um, and and then I heard about this ADI MJC Expo, and I was like, okay, what's this about? So I go on the website, I look at it, and it's like a full day for free in this place, which is about an hour away from me. And then you get to, there's like a PDI zone, and then there's like an ADI zone, I think it was a couple of years ago. Main stage, lots of trainers they can just come and have a look at. And I only really went because I saw this amazing ADI on YouTube, and I was like, wow, it's good. I want to see if he's there. And he was, I shook his hand. I was like, oh, I love you. You're on YouTube. I think I scared him a little bit. Yeah, I do come across a little bit. And I'm quite tall as well, so I could look quite menacing. But that's where I watched a lot of stuff on the PDI zone, presentations of some really good trainers. One of them was Lee Jarrett and Nick Knowles. Completely blown away by their role play. And then decided, now, I mean, I need more. I need more because what they're doing makes sense. What they're saying makes sense. And I need to go into my part 3 thinking I've got some sort of a plan. So I decided to do more. I did, trying to remember exactly, it was a while back. Definitely did 2 full in-car training days with Lee. One, I went to his place, the first one, and then the second one, he came to me before my part 3, my first part 3. Wow, so much I learned just for them two. That was crazy. A lot of the stuff I already knew. I already knew, well, you got to watch to learn. I just didn't know what, how good you've got to be to do your job properly and to pass your part three. Loads of questions as well for him. I had loads. Um, Now I can't remember if I had any more in that training, but I definitely had 2 full days before. And then I went for my part three. And we had a pretty good plan. Um, to summarize it, I guess 2 full in-car training days and about, I don't know, 150 hours, 150 hours on Zoom, something like that. Some of it paid, £10 for an hour on the workshop, and most of it for free. And I went with a pretty good plan, a pretty good learner, really good learner. He was, and she was chatty. So Lee said, yeah, that's fine. Your route looks good, your plan looks good, you can adapt it and stuff. And it was unsuccessful with 29 points. So yeah, I was like, oh. Had a chat with the examiner at the end, and I was a bit, didn't really quite get why I failed. I wrote a few things down, and I literally, for a couple of days, I was upset, and then I was like, well, I need to find out what he meant by X, Y, Z, what I wrote down. And so I had a chat with Mick, but it wasn't on Zoom. It was just kind of like chatting over Facebook messages, and he left me with some questions and another 3-4 months to prepare for the next one. So what I did is like, well, I clearly need more training. This, like, if I don't get it now and I do nothing about this, surely I'm not going to get it next time. Like, I might, but do you want to risk it? At that point, I knew that if I leave it to my third attempt, I'd have to go with my third pink license. We don't even know if we get that. It's kind of looking into a risky situation. And most people say don't get there because that's really dangerous. So I did a workshop with Bob Morton. Really wanted to get one in with him because I watched some of this stuff. So I watched him at the ADI and JC Expo. And I watched some of this stuff on YouTube as well. So I was like, that's another person that sounds like he knows what he's doing. And he's audit as well. So he's got sort of the knowledge behind it, lots of experience. Did that in Sheffield. That again, eye opener. What I did. I forgot to mention it. That workshop that he did with Nick and Lee, the standards check workshop. Yeah, I did that before my party as well. That was a good eye opener on how to identify goals and needs and how to teach. I just struggled with adapting a little bit. I was like, how do I do it? So it's Bob that literally said it. And I was like, the penny dropped. The penny really, really dropped in the workshop there. I was like, okay, I know why I failed. I know why I failed 100% my first part three. So I kind of know how to put it into practice. And he gave me a skill matrix as well. Then understand when to adapt and when to kind of just keep things on the go. But yeah, I guess if would you like me to give you some details on some of this stuff?
Yeah, why not? Let's get into the details.
So why I failed my first part three. my learner was struggling to emerge at roundabouts, but not all of them. Just the really busy ones. Really busy ones. The ones where the island's kind of blocking everything. And you can see some of the blockers, but they're just going so fast that for learner, they have struggle. So I was like, okay, that's what we're going to work on. So for 45 minutes, well, almost 45 minutes for my first part three, I gave that learner a lot of opportunities to practice at that roundabout. But we had two around the test center that were, I knew that the traffic was going to be quite bad. So let's give her plenty of opportunities there. Initially, I helped her out quite a lot, identify some blockers. That's what the agreement was anyway. Then I kind of backed down, and then maybe she can do it on her own. I was watching the learner very nicely, practiced quite a lot on that one. Kept the car safe. There actually been plenty of time. But we kept it there, just done two roundabouts, back and forth, back and forth. So my logic was give her plenty of opportunities there to develop. And then I failed. And I was like, why? But I gave her, that's what she was struggling on. And on the day, guess what? She didn't struggle. There was no, yeah, there was a little bit of, oh, I don't know what to go. But eventually she did go. And when she did go, I think it was just a one time where she didn't take a shield properly. She kind of like put the gas on, but not enough. And the examiner said, well, yeah, you say she was struggling, but I didn't see it struggle. Yeah, a little bit of hesitation, but she kind of did it quite well. So what I would like to see is an adaptation of that. You know, the knowledge that she gained there, go use, go do it at some other roundabouts. My logic was, yeah, but if I go do other roundabouts, they're not so busy. It was like, well, how is that better? And that's why I got so frustrated. Like, what do you mean? You want me to adapt? And he says, yeah, but I didn't get it. I didn't get it. So I went to Bob, and he says like this, because I still remember him saying it. And that's when the penny dropped. He said, you've got to give value for money. Okay. You've got to make sure that the lesson you're doing, especially when it passes standards check, is the kind of lesson that the learner will sort of develop, you know, and ensure some learning is taking place kind of fast. If he can do the same thing with his mom and dad, then he's not going to pass. Because with his mom and dad, it's probably, you know, £5 an hour for fuel, and with you, it's probably 35 to 40 pounds an hour. So that's what he wants to see. Why is he paying me money? And that's when it hit me. I was like, yeah, that's kind of making sense, because I just kept it for the two roundabouts, and she could have just done that with her mom and dad. It was so she knew the directions before I even gave her directions. So I was like, yeah, okay, I get it. That's what in regards to adapt it, you know. If there's a struggle, make it easier. If there's no struggle, make it harder. You've got to prove. So you've got 45 minutes to prove it. The workshops that I did with the same one that you went to with Nick and Lee, that was so much about how people learn, especially young adults. We're not teaching kids anymore. Kids, yeah, you tell them what to do, they just do it. They don't argue. Yeah, pick up the spoon, put it in your mouth, whatever. I got a 1-year-old, so I'm teaching them to do that. No, it's not the same violence. So they have really good knowledge of understanding how young adults learn, what types of questions you should be asking, when, why. A lot of ways to find goals and needs, and a lot of ways to teach around goals and needs. So yeah, a lot of knowledge that I had, but it was so much more sort of like developed because I was able to understand it quite well. So then when I went into my part 3 the next time, another good learner, really good chemistry between us. We both go to the gym. Well, no, he's 25, I think. But we both keep gym goers. He's chatty. He was literally the lesson. So I was still struggling to find a learner. I had about 5 options because I was like, nah, I need many, many options. So he was stalling. He was any roundabouts. There was 2 roundabouts that we did around the test center on the hill, stalled 3 times, both of them. So that's it. That's your part to figure out there. Make sure that he doesn't stall somehow. 45 minutes in roundabouts. and adapt if you need to. And I passed. And we got into, I mean, long story short, we got into it. Same again. I'm giving plenty of directions, plenty of time. I'm really watching him. Um, First things first, we got the first roundabout nice and clear, super, a little bit on the hill, fantastic. I'm helping him. He does it really well. We got to the second roundabout, boom, really busy, completely blocked. And I was like, I'm watching him, because the agreement is if it's not on the hill, he can do it on his own. I'm watching him. He's falling apart. He's falling apart. He's like, eyes are like this. He doesn't know what he's doing. So I step in straight away. I get him out of there. We pull up on the left, conversation about what happened, get the learning out of him. I said to him, I can't really recreate that scenario again because I can't force a roundabout to be blocked. But if we were to come to it again, would you know what to do? Yes. Okay. Super. Then we continue on to. I knew the area very well, so it's all about hills. We have some junctions on the hill. I knew that if things going well, then I've got a roundabout and a junction with quite a steep hill that eventually we're going to get to if things go well. On the way, things going well. I got lucky with another blocked roundabout, so I was like, "Oh, this is good." If he understood what happened the first time, then he says he can do it now. We get to the roundabout, it's blocked again. I look at the learner, he's again like this. He can't hack it again. Help him out again. Pull up on the left. What happened? Yeah, okay, I get it. Finished off the part 3 with a steep hill on the junction, and a steep hill on roundabout. Aced both. On the way back, we agreed that I'll be helping him out with mirror checks. He was kind of forgetting here and there. Didn't do that as well as I should have. So then the part 3 was a pass, but only a 39. Yeah, 39, because the examiner said, well, you kind of agree with him that you're going to help him out with mirrors, and you kind of left him hanging. Sometimes you helped him, sometimes you didn't. So that's it. But yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. I love the detail that you've put into both of those and kind of how they've gone. And it's really difficult, isn't it? And what I'm realizing now, especially with the more episodes that I've got out and the people that are reaching out, that have been watching, that are seeing benefit and reaching out and getting training to some of the guests, is what happened on your part 3 is unique to you and your learner and the situation that you was in. But the message is very much the same for anyone that's preparing for this, whether it's a part 3 or a standards check, is what we need to be doing as a driving instructor. And you've emphasized it quite a lot in that we need to be watching. We have to be watching that pupil. Like, you're looking for their facial expressions when they're at the situations that they've struggled to deal with. And if you're not looking, that's when it's going to go wrong, because you saw your student was a bit panicked, didn't like what was going on. And then it's using our knowledge and experience with that pupil. It's like, do we leave them to have a go, or do I step in now and get them through the situation to prevent something dangerous happening? And it is quite difficult to find that. And especially for PDIs that maybe don't have much experience teaching, it's where do you focus your time and energy to ensure you're giving the best to the pupil? What helped you improve your skills on the job as a driving instructor, either as a PDI or an ADI? What's helped you deliver value for money in the car?
Number one, most important of all, and so many trainers are saying it over and over and over again. Um, and I hope they keep saying it as many times as they need to. So not only ADIs get it, but also PDIs, continuous professional development, as much as you need, as much as you need, whether it's a workshop that you feel might help you overall for a standards check, plenty out there, plenty. Or if you feel like there's a certain area that you lack in, and as a PDI, I kind of knew I was finishing lessons, then there were patterns that I like, for example, firefighting, which refers to there's so many things that are going wrong. What's going on here? Um, get more, get as much as you need. And if one workshop has helped you and you feel like it's enough and it's completely changed your lessons, then that's fine. And if it's not, just get more. Yes, yes, of course, it costs money. Well, nothing is free, and if it's for free, take it. um, uh, yeah, that's the number one thing that you really have to do to kind of improve. Um, but for me personally, I think that was the question, isn't it? What helped me improve? Um, it's taking bits and bobs out of these CPD sessions and sort of applying it in my lessons, but which again were tailored to me. So I struggle, for example, with late reactions. So I was kind of a little bit, often I was reactive instead of proactive. Fix that by watching the learn properly. Now, how do you do that? Because it's kind of tough. They got 3-4 lessons a day, maybe. I mean, I only do 3 because I'm a little lazy. Um, Lee Jarrett said it quite well. It's quite difficult to improve multiple skills at the same time. And it's also quite difficult to improve one skill if you try and do it for a long time. So write it down, write down whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. Could be a short-term goal, could be a long-term goal. Or if you can remember it, that's fine. You don't have to write it down. And just practice it. He said to me, put a timer, whatever it is, watch, phone. I mean, watch probably better because we've got touch phones. Or you can see it on your whatever car's dash. 10 minutes. 10 minutes. And whatever you're doing, whatever you're trying to achieve with that learner, take 10 minutes of a lesson and work towards that goal. Whether it's giving directions properly in a good time, whether it's watching the learner really well, whether it's coming in with those questions to be more proactive, when you're going to slow down, when you're going to clutch, whatever it is that you're working on, 10 minutes here, 10 minutes on the next lesson. If it's overwhelming, step back, do only 5 minutes. And then over the course of days, weeks, months, that will get better and better and better. Another thing I was struggling with is goals and needs. I was asking some questions around, what would you like to do today, Mr. X? And they'll say roundabouts. And as a PDI, I was like, so happy with that answer. Fantastic. Let's go do some roundabouts. Not enough, is it? Not enough. And I thought it was, because that's the goal. I wrote it down. Let's do roundabouts. And you get to roundabouts and you're firefighting. It's like, but you said you're going to do roundabouts. Another thing I learned from some of the workshops I've been, dig deep. It's not really about topics, junctions, roundabouts, okay. What is it on that specific topic that you're really good at? What is it that you don't really know? Specifics. You get 17, 18-year-olds. They've been alive for 17, 18 years. They've been a passenger. They've watched mom and dad drive, good or bad, doesn't matter. They watch them. Automatic car, manual car, doesn't matter. Once in a while, they get bored and off their phone. Like, oh, what's mom doing? Oh, it's bit of a harsh break, isn't it, mom? Yeah, smack over the back. Shut up. But they're watching. So, okay, roundabout. Well, what is it about roundabouts that, what is it that you don't know? Get a conversation going. Oh, well, I know how to approach these roundabouts. I just don't really know when to go. Okay. Oh, emerging the roundabouts. Okay, what is it? But don't take that answer as happy days. Let's go emerging. How much help do you want from it? No, no. Dig a little deeper. There must be something about emerging that he knows. If the roundabout is empty, what do you know about that? And I'll guarantee you, most of them will be like, "Well, I can go, but there's nobody there." Okay, well, if someone's coming, where are you supposed to be looking? What if somebody's coming from the right? Oh, yeah, we stop. Don't want to crash, don't want to die. No, that's a bad idea. Well, you might not know about blocker, might not know about shields, some of the answers that they give you. If you get really good at asking questions, which takes practice, of course, that's the purpose of CPD, I'd be amazed at how much they actually know, or if I've got a couple of learners, they'll know what to do for roundabouts, but they'll be scared of cars because they've seen stuff, either involved in an accident or they've seen somebody late braking or somebody was turning left from the right lane and not supposed to be doing it. They get scared. Gotta talk about those feelings as well. So yeah, it's another thing that I got really good at asking some good questions, identifying some goals and needs, which obviously can also be on the go. Don't just that comes with watching and learning. So don't just assume, oh yeah, I know how to check my mirrors, and it's just there like not really doing anything. And then the teaching part, that's something that I'm still working on. Um, Scaling, lots of models that they can use. I try to keep it. At first, it's overwhelming how much information you can actually use and apply, and it's like you can use scaling at the start of the lesson. You can use scaling on the go. Which one do I use? Which one's better? How do I simplify this? And again, I'm going back to how to get better. Well, pick 10 minutes, do 10 minutes of scaling on your driving lesson. And then just leave it. That's it. Stop. Because it might be too overwhelming for you and the learner. Pick your learner as well. It's just knowing some one CPD and then get what you need from that CPD and apply in your lessons regularly. Not too much if it's overwhelming. And something that works. I've not tried it myself. Really, really should try it. I got to ask you if you're using it. Reflection. So writing stuff down. Finish the lesson. How did it go? What was good? What was bad? How can I improve? I'm not much into writing stuff down, but I have heard it's quite useful. So that's another thing that I was trying to get into over time, maybe with some help. I'm gonna ask the same thing that I asked my learners. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. But it has led me to more questions because we're going to dig deeper. But first, I'd like to kind of add, I guess, to what you were saying there as well. For PDIs and potentially ADIs, because you said there's so much out there, and there is. Like learning and developing individuals has been around forever. We're just applying it in the car. And learning's learning, coaching's coaching, whatever it is, we're just applying it to a different overall topic. But something I've started to realize is like when you mentioned scaling, I'm sat there and I'm thinking I'm trying to implement scaling in my lessons. And I do use it, and maybe this will help some people that are watching or listening, in that I almost think if I'm going to introduce scaling, I need to do it in every lesson with every learner. And I'm looking back on the lessons that I've done this week, for example, and I can think of two times where I've used scaling because it's been appropriate for that learner based on their needs. And it goes way back to the beginning when you say about the toolkit as a driving instructor. I don't have to be a driving instructor that uses scaling in every lesson and uses digging deeper in every lesson and uses whatever else. Like, yes, digging deeper is great, but some learners just need to be told the information and they need to go away and practice it because that's what they want, that's what they need. Some learners need to understand the why. So I'm starting now to realize that I need these skills. I need to understand scaling because some of my learners will benefit from scaling. I need teaching aids in the car because some of my learners are visual learners. And the way I'm starting to see it now, it's like I'm not a driving instructor that everything's about pictures or everything's about scaling or everything's about digging deeper and finding out the why. The more rounded I am, the more I can help individual learners with different things. And I think as a PDI looking at all of this, maybe listening to all the CPD that you've done, it's like, how am I going to do all of this? And how am I going to do it in all of my lessons? How did you manage all of this information as a PDI? So you're learning a new job, and now you've got all of this information. Did you come from a development background, a teaching background, whatever, or was teaching new to you as well?
I wouldn't say it was new. I don't really come from a teaching background, but I do come from a driving background. My previous job before I became a driving instructor for quite a few years was a forklift operator. Um, and I was doing that a lot, a lot. So we're talking sometimes 10 hours a day. I'd be moving one pallet from one location to the other location and thinking, you've got to sometimes carry the load, reversing with a lot of pedestrian crossings around you, with a lot of people that will just not left and right. They'll just expect you to horn and stop. And the reason why I really wanted to quit my job and become a driving instructor is because I had to also do this. So I was reversing a forklift truck around people, and sometimes not even like barriers in between me and the person, just kind of there right next to me. I'm driving a 2-ton vehicle. On very slippery surfaces. So we're talking snow, oil, diesel on the ground. And that's scary. That's scary because I just felt like, well, if I don't brake enough now with a 1-ton pallet on my forks, when I slip a little bit, somebody's going to lose it. That's it. That's it. So that's where I kind of came from. And that's why it wasn't easy to translate that. So I had the skill to do it, but I didn't have the teaching ability to be able to transfer those skills to somebody else. And what I thought I had to do is just sit back and go, all right, Mr. X, yeah, go ahead, lift the clutch, ease a little bit on the gas, off you go. And for the next 2 hours, I'll just be watching you a little bit. And yeah, it's quite surprised. It's not quite the job that you're supposed to do.
So how did you manage all of this? Because the information can be overloading. Even as an ADI, when I look at all the different courses that are there, and if I were to go and do them all, I'm now going to have all of this information. So what do I do with it? How do I start? How do I get it into the lessons? So as a PDI, how did you utilize all of this content and how did you manage it in your lessons?
Yeah, so I had the same problem that a lot of PDIs have now. Even ADIs, I don't know. But PDIs definitely. I had so much information about the 17 competencies, risk management, and I was watching so many people on YouTube on what to do, how to do. And I had all of this, and I just did not know how to put it together. And I see a lot of people have watched ADIs. Sorry, no, I watched one ADI. I'm not going to say any names, and really good knowledge and skill, but that ADI did not put everything together to create that lesson that I watched to even pass a standard check. Okay, from my perspective, and I'm not a trainer. I'm just watching this, and I felt like I finished that, and I said, "Thank you very much. Thank you for having me in the back. That was amazing." But I left thinking, "No, that you didn't put it together. You know what you're doing. You know what you're supposed to do, but you didn't put it together at all." Um, some of the others that I have spoken to that have the information, no bits and bobs, but when it comes to putting it all together, no clue. So what worked for me is I can't stress this enough. Okay, whoever's watching, please, CPD. Okay, you've got to do it. How much? I don't know. It depends on when the penny drops for you. But it was understanding how people learn and also the ability to understand. It goes into part two. So I did my part two. I passed my part two first time. I just thought to myself, oh, well, I just need to drive. I need to prove to the examiner that I can drive it well. Mirrors, signal, maneuver, parallel parking, emergency stop if I have to, boom, done. Because I'm being assessed on how good I'm driving. Not really. Your part two is there. And I later found out from Lee Jarrett's seminar workshop the role of a part two isn't so much to assess whether you're a good driver. Yeah, it is partially that because you can't really teach people if you don't really know anything about mirrors. But it's to bring you back to that what is called consciously competent level. So you won't be able to teach anybody unless you understand when you do stuff and why you do it. And when you really understand everything that you do, the little things that when you come off the gas, when you turn your head to check that mirror, what do you do with that information? Why you might want to stay in the normal driving lane at 55 miles an hour before in front of a lorry. Sorry, behind a lorry. Why might that be a good idea? Understanding your decision making, your anticipation skills, bringing you back to being completely aware of what you do and when you do it. That is the big change that worked for me. And I passed now 7 months later, and I'm still driving in between lessons. And in between lessons, yeah, I've got some music in the background because I might have a headache, so I need to wind down. But every single time, I'll be like, okay, I check my mirrors now. So if I come here with my learner and we're working on whatever mean situations that he or she needs to check the mirror now because of that. And if the situation changes, maybe there's a different part of cars, then I'll be looking at her. And if she doesn't turn her head, then I should be coming with a question here. Or maybe just covering my dual controls just in case. I feel that's such a big game changer and becoming potentially an A-grade instructor. That's a big one.
That gets so overlooked, I believe. The part one and the part two. I mean, we've not spoke too much about those of your training, but the part two, if you're approaching it like a driving test, that you just need to deliver the minimum standard to pass, great, you'll pass, but it's added no benefit to your training in preparation for a part three. And understanding, I love what you said there, why you do what you do when you do it is so important for your learner. Because otherwise, what are you watching for? Because we've mentioned watching your student is really important. There are many things we're looking for, but one of those things we're looking for is the pupil doing what I would be doing? And if you don't know what you would be doing, then what are you looking for? You don't know what you're looking for, or you don't know when to look. So I think that's a really good link that you've made there, and really important for people, even if you've passed part two, do you know why and how you passed?
100%. Yes, yes, yes. And I passed my part two. So happy about that. I was such a nervous. I mean, many instructors will go into their part two, but they'll be nervous, obviously. Um, and I mean, I had training before, and I loved my trainer. Had such a good time. And maybe I got lucky. I don't know. He was quite knowledgeable, lovely guy. We got along, and I had so many questions. Even when he was explaining stuff to me, and I was like, "What? So what do you mean by that? I just really don't get it." You just explain it again. And he said, listen, we got to get you into a habit of doing commentary driving when you're driving. Okay, so when you go to work, because I used to go to work, 15-minute drive to work, 15-minute drive back. So lucky, every bend I knew. But he said, do some commentary driving. Say it when you check your mirrors, say it when you indicate, say it when you brake. And I partially understood why that is necessary. I thought that it's going to help me become a safer driver by forcing myself to always do this. And then when I'm forcing myself to do this by doing commentary driving, which works really good for learners as well, then the information will stick in. But unfortunately, if I remember correctly, because it was a while back, I just didn't get why it's so important for me to be really aware when I'm checking my mirrors. Not until I got some workshops done and other people's, like Nick and Lee and then Bob as well, explained that you've got to bring yourself back. You are no longer a passenger. That is not your role as a driving instructor. You've got to be active in there. Yes, obviously with some of the learners that are near test ready, you know, more relaxed lessons maybe. If you know they're watching, if you know they're most of the time looking at their mirrors, then it might be okay to miss. Not looking at her or him every time. But other than that, the job's there for an hour and a half, or 2 hour long, however long your lessons are. That is your job. That's what you're getting paid for, to really watch it. I just remember this. I think it's worth mentioning. I'm not going to give any names, but I've had a driving instructor, ADI, and I was fortunate enough to come out with coffee and ask him loads of questions. And he says, well, I tell my learners this is a quote, I tell my learners to turn their heads. So when they're checking the mirrors, to properly turn their heads. And the reason I'm asking them to do that is because I want to be able to look more ahead and less at the learner. And then I tell the learner, listen, if you do that, then I won't have to be staring at you all the time, making you uncomfortable. And I was like, oh, okay, I was PDI like that. So I was like, oh, that's really useful. But then we get to like really good trainers that have proven expertise in the field and they've been doing this for a while. And they go, no, that's not an accurate thing that you should be doing. Your view should be sort of like in between. Yeah. Learner, what's happening up ahead? Active role. especially those 45 minutes par three standards check. Especially if you want to pick one moment for you to relax, it might be on your third, fourth lesson when you're like, oh my God, tired now. Then you might be able to say, okay, I'll turn around, I'll relax for 5 minutes. And if the learner has that ability to do roundabouts, for example, on his own, not one. So I'm not saying stress yourself out by doing this for 45 minutes, but you're unless it's a straight road and the learner's doing 20 and a 40, then I'll be watching what's happening up ahead. What is he doing? Everything that he should be doing at this point. And if he's a little bit late, I'll be asking myself, what's going to happen here? Is it worth saying something? Is it going to help him achieve his goal? Have we agreed that I'm supposed to help him? Or is it better to just leave it, let it unfold? Because I know the learners might be experienced enough. Gotta watch him.
It is a difficult job when you've got that focus on your learner. I mean, I don't do long days in the car. I mean, I sit on here all night and talk to people. So my working days are very long, but my lessons are, yeah, I won't do more than 4 lessons in a day. And generally, if I'm doing 4 lessons in a day, 1 or 2 of them are a 1 hour lesson because ideally, I don't really want to be doing more than 3 90-minute lessons. And if I am, I need a break. And really, one of them at some point during the day is just going to be a 1 hour lesson because otherwise, that last lesson, I give in the same quality that I should be for the price that I'm charging? And I wouldn't be. So it's managing that and managing our safety as well. I'm sure we've all been caught occasionally where we're not quite on the ball and something could have gone wrong. And then I'm like, right, I have to be on it, watching the pupil. And we keep talking about this, watching the pupil and what they're doing. And it's so important knowing what you're looking for as well. If they're coming up to a hazard and they've not checked their mirrors, is that because they've not checked their mirrors because they forgot, or have they not seen the hazard? So now what we're watching for, well, we're watching their feet. Are they coming off the gas? Are they braking? Well, wait a minute. They've not checked the mirrors and they're not braking. If I leave this any longer, what's the outcome going to be? So there are many areas that we're looking at. I mentioned it when we spoke about part 2 and breaking that down and understanding that. But we're looking for their reaction, their posture. There's so much information you get from that. And it makes our job easier because it stops us fighting fires, like you mentioned earlier. We can get it so much earlier if we're watching what they're doing, when and why.
100%.
We've gone off on a big old tangent, haven't we? How was your part 2?
It didn't get cancelled, so I got lucky. Had a couple of mock tests with my trainer, and I failed the first one on a meeting situation, and I passed the second one with about 4 driver faults. But I've got some of the aspects of part 2 were actually quite funny. So I was quite honest with my trainer. I said, I'm kind of like an old lady driver. You know, I've got a kind of fast car, 180 horsepower. That's fast for me. But I don't really go 70 miles an hour. Not really like it. But I just cruise control, normal driving lane, 60, 65 miles an hour. Put some music on, just relax. put the seat back a little bit, it's nice and comfortable. And I was also quite honest as well. Man, I'm not checking mirrors. I have no idea which one to check. And I can check the center one. Yeah, see who's behind me, definitely. Uh, if I'm overtaken, yeah, I'll have a look. Other than that, I have no clue which one should I be checking and why. A little bit of work on that one. So I have a lot of empathy now for the learners that will come on the first lesson and they're part trained and they go, don't know what mirrors to check. Oh, funny enough, that was me a few months back. So let's have a chat. I think I can help you. What else? I had no idea about the emergency stop, so we had a little bit of chat about that one. We didn't really do it because the camera wrecked the car. I did do it once on my own. Bit scary. ABS kicks in. Feel like I'm going to break your car. Parallel parking. Yeah, definitely. I when I passed my learner test in a different country, I had reverse bay parking. And when the examiner said, I can still remember it, I was 24. That's when I learned how to drive, by the way. The examiner said, but I'd like you to reverse bay park into this bay. And I was like, yes, I want to ace this. I know it. It's not parallel parking, which I hate. So I passed that one. But I said to my trainer, listen, I got no idea how to parallel park. I actively go out of my way to make sure I never parallel park. And if I go shopping somewhere and if I have to parallel park, well, we're gonna have to shop somewhere else because it's just not gonna happen. Because I'm not gonna sit there and embarrass myself in front of other drivers and they're honking at me and stuff. So I kind of yeah. So the funny thing with parallel parking is that my trainer showed me about 3 different ways to do it. I tried to do it in a car park. All 3 ways were kind of like still a bit dodgy. I was like, oh, I'm trying, mate. I just can't do it. And then the day before my part 2, I attempted parallel parking really close to my house at 7 p.m. because there was no traffic. And I did it about 26 times, back and forth, just to kind of get the steering. And how much do I, and then what mirror do I look? And oh, I got to look around as well. Okay, there's just a bit of blind spots there. Hopefully nobody saw me. And then every time I did it, when it went well, I was like, yes, fantastic, nailed it. And I went down and try again. And then when I reversed and it went horribly wrong, I would have a look just to see if anyone was around me. Has anybody seen me? No, they quickly come out. Don't embarrass yourself. So yeah, I really have a lot of patience now and empathy for the learners when they say, let's do some parallel parking. Bit better now because I've got some reference points which do help. Also made sure that the car I have now has folding mirrors. That's a little advice for you. Looking to get yourself a new car, folding mirrors, amazing parallel parking. And then I went to my part 2, super nervous. I was like, oh, I'm going to wear a shirt for professional driving instructor. I think it's like 5 minutes in, I was all sweaty. I was like, oh. And lovely examiner. I'm not going to say names. Actually, can I say names? A little shout out. First name only.
Let's go first name only. I don't know if someone's going to knock on my door and complain. Yeah, first name only.
I had him for my part 3 as well. And so Brian, I'm not going to say the city or anything, but Brian, he was a lovely guy. So much. He just made me feel so relaxed. Both my part 2, part 3. Lots of good feedback. We had chats about our families and stuff. Passed first time with 2 driver faults. When we stopped the engine, he was like, "I'm happy to please you. Happy to say you. No, I'm pleased to say you've passed." I was like, "Oh my God, so nice," because I wasn't really sure. Basically, the first driver fault was doing 43 to 40 downhill, but I came off the gas straight away and gently braked because I kind of realized, oh, okay, it's just a bit downhill. But he said, I would have liked you to realize that you were going over the speed limit just a little bit earlier, so I wouldn't have given you a driver fault. And the other one, really funny. He says, okay, now we're going to try to do the emergency stop, Stefan. So we pull up on the left. He was like, well, I'm going to ask you to move off. We're going to build up a little bit of speed. And then only when I say stop and put my hand up like this, you will try to stop the car as fast as you can. And I was like, oh my God, I've done it once. But I know what to do. I know what to do. Theoretically, happy days. And build up some speed. I didn't really panic too much. However, when I hit the brake, because the car I was in, let's not say the type of car because it doesn't really matter. I don't want to, the car that I drove at the time, the pedals were kind of close to each other a little bit. I just don't know why. And so I hit the brake hard, clutched down hard, and I just clipped the accelerator as well. So like I did stop the car, and the emergency stop was fine. But as I was stopped, the car was revving 4 or 5 thousand RPM, and then I was like, "Oh, sorry." So he gave me a driver fault for I think it was use of speed. I'm not sure, but yeah, it was there because I just clipped the pedal. But yeah, I passed it. That was it really. I just remember being really happy. Like came back home, I was like, what did I say to my wife? I said, I returned victorious. I still remember. But yeah, again, I just didn't really know the purpose of it. I would have liked to understand it a little bit better. It's not really about how good of a driver you are, because a lot of people can't pass. It's just getting you back to knowing what is it that you do, the stuff that you do, when do you do it, what you're looking for. And that's really going to help you teaching people.
I'm more intrigued, selfishly. You're a forklift truck driver, and they maneuver in and out of all kind of angles. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah.
So I would have thought the parallel park would be fairly straightforward for you, given you move a truck in and out of tight spaces and reversing quite a lot around people.
Yes, yes. On the forklift truck, though, you've got the rear wheels that turn, and on your car,
Okay.
front wheels that turn.
Yep.
Well, that's one. And then the other one is, remember, if in your head you're afraid of parallel parking, it doesn't really matter what vehicle you drive. I was actively making sure as I was driving a car, because I didn't want to embarrass myself, no parallel parking. Could I have done it if with practice over time? Yes, but actively refusing to go there because thoughts and feelings. Yeah, it's,
So it was the emotional block on the parallel park that was the battle.
yeah, yeah. Just that fear of getting embarrassed and people honking at you or laughing at you. I mean, I'm 6'2", so you know, just don't really want to make a fool of myself. And that's how I now understand the learning as well. I mean, I've got a couple. I feel so sorry for them. So we were trying to do parallel parking, both of them. Both of them can do it. Quite good. As soon as a car gets behind, fall apart. Oh my God, there's somebody behind me. Stall, don't know how to turn, not looking around, it's really big, problematic. And they both passed first time. They both got parallel parking on the test, plus emergency stop. So like I'm so happy that we managed to talk about these thoughts and feelings on the lessons. So when it got to the driving test, not only they had the ability to focus on the correct thing at the correct time, but also manage their emotions around, in a test environment with an examiner they have never seen before and with cars around them. So yeah, it's one of the things that really, you gotta like it. You gotta, they finished the test and they go like, I got parallel parking. I smashed it. I was like, oh my God, Stefan, that was amazing. And it just puts you in such a good mood. It just puts a smile on your face. Yes, I'm so proud of you because I know you can do it.
That could open another episode for us on the emotions and how they affect us and how they affect our learners. Because I've had it on lessons, not so much now. I think I need to thank San Harper for that, and her mindfulness course really changed a lot and put things in a different perspective for me. But yeah, the emotional side of it, and like you said, a 6'2" bloke, been driving a few years, worried what people are going to think when he's doing a maneuver. And I would love to discuss that more. I'm not going to though, because I'll keep you here all night. The thoughts and emotions is just another thing that really interests me. But before we move on, because I've got some listeners' questions, and I'm not sure how long they're going to take, but we've gone into quite a lot of detail with your part three and CPD. We've done your part two and the huge relevance of that. And I hope anyone that's watching or listening at the PDI stage that's maybe struggling, just take note of what Stefan said and go back to your driving and understand why commentary driving and make the links to what you're watching your pupils for. But part one, let's have a quick kind of venture back to your part one training and test. How did you get on there?
Well, I got the materials, the books and everything from my training school. And honestly, this is how I passed my theory as a learner. Um, rote learning. So if anybody doesn't know how rote learning means, because I didn't know, it's doing the questions over and over and over again until the information sinks in as to what is the correct answer. Um, can be efficient, it does get you where you need to be. It is a form of learning. It's just not really recommended if you're trying to understand the logic behind the answer. So what I did, I had about 80% of the questions that I knew the answer, and it was kind of basic. And the other 20% that I was either not sure and or I was getting it wrong all the time. And research, research, yeah. I struggled with single yaw line, double yaw lines. What does that mean? And I was driving for like 10 years. um, so it's research. Highway code, it's a really good one. Traffic signs, I think there's a book for that one as well. I got it in my car. Research, research. Why does it mean what it mean? Why is it that answer, not the other one? Um, what I chose to do was primarily my own research. I think what would help some PDIs, no wait, there's not a list. What would help people pass their part one on any questions they don't know or understand, then it would be really good to get some help. And there's so a few people in the industry that offer help, especially if you were to have some sort of learning difficulties. I'm not very knowledgeable with those sort of areas, but I know like my wife is dyslexic, for example. So if there's any struggle with part one, either understanding or reading or something like that, then there's plenty of options for people to kind of seek help. And don't you just offer that kind of help? Have I not seen something on social media?
Yeah. Yeah, so we've launched myself and Craig Preedy Instruct IQ, and the basis of that is very much part one. We're offering all training, but it kind of started with part one because you mentioned something there, and you're not the only one, and that's a lot of people use rote learning, and part one carries, in my opinion, more weight than the part two for understanding why we should study this information. Um, because, like you said, part two, don't approach it just to pass part two, approach it to understand. and approach it to know why you're doing what you're doing and when, so we can look for it in our learner. When you apply that same mentality with part one, you're going into part two, you already know what what the rules are and what you're doing and why. And then part three, you've already got some of the knowledge. So yeah, part one is where our focus is, along with offering training. But when you're mentioning additional needs, there's also Dr. Julia Malkin, and she can offer support for PDIs kind of at any stage. But I think part one is one that's such a mixed bag at the minute for people because a lot of people are often left to their own devices. And I guess maybe you was a little bit similar. It was you got the reference material, got an app, like you say, you went through the questions. And for the most part, you can learn most of the questions and remember the answers, and chances are they're going to come up on the part one. But that's maybe not going to help at the part three stage when you've could have been learning about teaching and learning strategies at part one, and we now have to learn about it at part three on the job.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming your path was much like mine at part one. You got reference material, got an app, done a bit of research, and then done your part one.
500 questions a day. Um, 15-minute breaks on my previous job. Boom. Phone out. Do on the app. 100 questions. Yeah, because the mock test was 100 questions for us. Yeah, straight away. As soon as the break was on, I had a whatever protein bar I know the answer. I know the answer. I know the answer. It's yes, it is going to take you probably to pass part one, but you get the understanding of it. A quick one about hazard perception as well. We don't have that in my country. When I passed, really struggle with that one. Basically, I just try to do the videos. I need you to know which ones you're supposed to get off for your driving test because for your theory test because I practice on the old style, which was actual videos of cars going around. But it's only the CGI that you get. I didn't know that. And I was clicking like mad. I was like, what is going on here? 0 points. Cheating. I was like, what? And then I watched some stuff on YouTube as well. Lovely lady, can't remember her name now, explains everything about how it works, what's potential hazard, what's a developing hazard, how do you get points. I didn't get massive score for hazard perception, but I did pass, so I was quite happy with that one. Yeah.
I failed mine twice, my part one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I mean, I got 91 out of 100. I tell all my learners. So as I passed, if they pass with like whatever, 46, 47, a pass is a pass. It was a bit stressful. Funny story, just a quick one. I'm sat there in front of the computer, dead quiet in the room. Fair enough, you can't whisper or anything. No music. You got to focus. I'm halfway through. I'm taking my time. I said, no, I'm gonna. Usually, I just scroll through the questions. No, you gotta take your time. This lovely woman sits next to me. I'm already sat for half an hour. I swear, 5 minutes. She was done. She was done. She was boom, boom, done. And I'm thinking, I am terrible at this. I am going to have to sit this 5 times because she's amazing. Now, we probably learn the test and yeah, but it was what can I say? Rote learning got me through. That's it.
I didn't really do any rote learning for mine. The first one, because I've done a few driving tests, I was like, I'll be all right. I've got this. So I've read a few books and then I went for the test and failed. I've got the scores somewhere. I can't remember what there was. And I was like, oh, that was unlucky because I think I only failed by one. I'd actually probably got about what's the pass mark? 85. So I think I probably got 84. So I failed by one. Now, I've got 16 wrong, but I've just failed by one. I'll get it next time. And then I got a worse score the time after. And then I studied. And then I got in all the books. So at that point, it's already cost me over £200 just for turning up to the test to fail. And then I started studying. I stopped using the app, started studying. And then, yeah, I think it was maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago. It was a few episodes ago. Craig Preedy came on and we was discussing the part one and it all made sense. And I'm like, I get it now. My training was very much get through part one, test done, get through part two, test done. Now we do part three. And then through the podcast and through CPD and talking to people, you're like, no, no, no. They're all linked and they all help the end goal of you being a confident and competent driving instructor. And if you're missing any links through there, it's going to be a real struggle to deliver a lesson on a part three or standards check. If you're missing knowledge or you're not understanding the practical application of the skill, part three is going to be a struggle.
Now, when I heard 35% pass rates, I was like, what? Why? And then you go into client set and learning.
I think it's just dropped to below 30%, hasn't it?
No, really?
I think the average is below 30%. Don't quote me on that, anyone,
Yeah.
but I think it is below 30%. It might be about 29%. I might be wrong. I don't know where I've pulled that from, but it's not good. And it's been at around 30 to 35% for years. Yeah, that's the part three pass rate. I kept the average low with my third time pass on part one. I think the pass rate on part one's slightly better, part two slightly better, part three's not great. But I think we can see why. Like you've said there, like rote learning will probably get you through part one. A minimum standard of driving will get you through a part two. Part three, can you get through with minimum knowledge at part one, minimum standard at part two? Are you going to be able to show a good lesson at part three? Probably not. We've done a big circle there, haven't we? Go on, what was you going to say?
I feel really sorry because I have some chats here and there with trainers when I take some CPD, and what the most say. So this is different trainers in different areas. They're all saying the same thing. I get people coming at me, PDIs. I'm on my last attempt. Help me. It's 2 weeks from now. It's like, it's way too late. How? How am I going to help you? Try and scrape some Zoom sessions, you know. How much money are you able to spend for me to help you? Because if you want one Zoom session, chances are minimal help, so minimal chances. I feel really sorry for the trainers. Tough job.
I find it, yeah, like you said, those trainers, because there are some really good trainers in the industry. But if we look at the statistics, I think I've mentioned it on an episode, and Josh is going to go off again on this. But statistically, and I'd love someone to prove me wrong, because in my head, this makes sense. You're more likely to pass on your third attempt than you are on your first. How is that the case? Your third attempt is like make or break. Your third attempt is your career's on the line. But more people are passing on their third attempt because it's a 30% pass rate. What's the difference? And I think the difference a lot of the time is the CPD. First time is it'll be okay, I'll get it next time. And the second time you get the same score or a similar score. And it's like, now I've got to go and get some CPD because it's my last chance. And therefore, more people must be passing on their third attempt with extra stress. But it would be interesting to see the number of people that pass on the first attempt, second attempt, and third attempt, and why. And there's probably a number of reasons, but I'd take a bet that one of them's CPD. At what point do you seek more CPD? You're probably going to invest more money and time before your third attempt than you are your first, generally speaking.
It's costly. It's costly, isn't it? It's not like you could take the cheaper route. So I went with a national school, mostly for simplicity. I just knew I needed a lot of help. I knew nothing about business, never been self-employed before. And they're just advertising a lot better. The advertising is all over Facebook, Instagram. And I have no idea what audit means. I have no idea that there's independent trainers that are so much better. And that's mostly because, yes, they advertise, but they're not going to be able to reach the advertising level that the national schools have. It's cost as well. The cost is put before, especially after COVID as well. You know, inflation. Yes, national minimum wage is going up. But yeah, no, it costs a lot, and you can't really, you know, if you're an audit trainer and you want to deliver some in-car training or workshops, you know, you're just not going to deliver it for free. You've spent X amount of money on getting the knowledge that you currently have. So yes, I know it costs. I know it costs. So pick some good trainers. See if you can, I don't know, maybe work some overtime. You know, it's really worth it because when you pass the part three, you've got so much freedom that a lot of people want. I've heard this, like I went into the business with the usual promise, earn 50K a year, 60K if you want. Oh, I know this guy, he was 80K in London or whatever. Most people go into it because they just want freedom. They just want to be their own bosses or they got kids. So yeah, it's really worth it, guys. Pay up, qualify, and reap the rewards. Yeah,
I
ideally,
think I'd like to add the reality to that as well. When you've said it's costly, it is, but we've got to look. These trainers that have built a brand, built a reputation, and spent years investing in their own CPD. Now they can be charging 40 to £50 an hour to deliver a lesson to a learner. And yes, there is responsibility with that, but there's a lot more additional work when you start helping a PDI or an ADI. And it's like, well, I'm not going to do it cheaper because I've got a business to run. So we've got to kind of look at the overall picture as well. What's going to be your hourly rate when you qualify as a driving instructor? Because you're probably going to have to pay more than that for a reputable trainer. I don't know their prices, but what we need to look at is I know my prices as a driving instructor, and I wouldn't be expecting to pay less to get training from someone who's more qualified, knowledgeable, and experienced than what I am, that are going to help me improve at my job. So, yeah, don't come into it wanting cheap and to cut corners because it might be a good idea at the beginning, but you might find you have to pay a lot more at the end to get through that third part three if you get to that stage. But I'm not gonna go on about that too much because I think the message that you've shared today has been an excellent one around CPD and how to put it into practice and some really good stuff. And I've seen you around, like tagged in the workshops that are going on and the Zoom sessions in all the different groups. So it's been great to see what you've been doing from being a PDI and to where you are now. But what I would like to do, because otherwise we're going to end up here all night and talking about many other things, which I would love. But I've got some questions from the listeners. Do you mind if we go through those?
Yes, of course. Thank you very much. I was looking forward to this.
So let's get these up. We may have had some more coming in. So before we get on to listeners' questions, here is your discount code from our sponsors, Knowledgablee Instructor Training. Just use the code MSP10 for 10% off their client-centered Part 3 Standards Check in person award-winning workshop. That is MSP10 for 10% off. So the first one, I think you've mentioned him once or twice, Lee Jowett. Have you ever been approached by a random Yorkshireman in Starbucks?
Okay, I think I might know what he was referring to. Funny story about that one. So the answer is no myself, but I did go into a Starbucks um, where around the city where I deliver lessons, because I live in a town and the city is like about 20 minutes away where the test center is. So I was in that city. I finished my lesson, and you know what it's like in between lessons, you gotta have a toilet break because you gotta do it. And I pop into Starbucks, straight to the toilet. I turn my head, just sort of like walking around, and then I see a friendly figure, and it's Mick Knowles, or somebody that looks like Mick Knowles, um, just sitting having a coffee, having a chat with somebody. So I'm like, straight to the toilet because I gotta do my stuff, and I'm in the toilet. They're like, is that Mick? That looks like him. Why would he be here? It's like he's like hours away. Doesn't make sense. So I come out and I shifty stare at him. I was like, I'm sure that's him. He's kind of a short guy, and I'm looking at his like gestures and stuff because I've been watching him on his video. I was like, no, that's Mick. That is. I'm gonna go talk to him. I know I'm gonna look like a 6'2" guy and probably quite menacing, but I'm gonna go say hi. Maybe he wants to take a picture of me, whatever, with me. So yeah, he was kind enough to say hello. And he was with somebody that I think I can't remember PDI or NDI. He was helping out. So he was in car training me, yes. And he was kind enough to have a laugh about it and take a picture. And he even put it on Facebook after that. And I was like, out of all the people that I would expect to see around my area, the Yorkshireman was quite funny.
I was so hoping you said you went up to have a chat with him and it wasn't him. I thought that was very much leading into Mick's lookalike and just got ambushed by some big bloke in a Starbucks.
That'd be awkward. You make no, get away from me. Sorry.
Sorry. So the next question is from Paul. If you wasn't a driving instructor, what would your dream job be?
Oh, okay. I got a great answer for that. I went to uni when I was a well, teenager, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do. Mom was like, "Go be an engineer. Good money." Tried it for about a year. Nah, I didn't really like it. I liked playing basketball and a bit more, video games. Second year again, mom's like, "Come on, try it again." I go try again, fail again. It was a lot of math and physics and stuff, and I was like, "Nah, I'm all right." And for a good, well, good 10, 15 years, I just kind of like shifted between jobs and what I wanted to be. So the answer essentially is I never really knew what I wanted to become in life. I didn't really have a set goal. And it can be quite stressful, can be quite frustrating. Like you don't really know where you're going, what you're doing. But hand-eye coordination was amazing, so I love to drive stuff. Comes from playing video games quite a lot. So and as soon as I saw somebody driving a forklift truck, I was like, I want to try that. That was fun because you kind of get to lift stuff really heavy and around people, and you had a certain social status around town, around the factory I was playing. I was like, oh, he's a forklift truck driver. Yeah, he knows the stuff. And then you just kind of go from there. And I always love teaching people various jobs. They kind of just stuck with me. Hey, yeah, Stefan, yeah, yeah, he can teach stuff. Yeah, he's a great guy. Um, so I never really knew what I wanted to become. But turns out that around my age, I'm 35. So teaching and driving, that's pretty much what I'd like to think that I'm made for. And I'm kind of taking that out of the car as well, because I'm also a basketball coach, coach the kids, love that. It's just something I really like doing.
Nice. We have two questions now from Penny. You've been an instructor for about 7 months. What has been your biggest achievement in that time, not including passing your part three?
Yes, yes. I had to think about that one a little bit because it is a big achievement, isn't it? When you pass your part three, it's like pop the champagne bottle, let's go, guys. No more, I can sleep at night. And what I came up with is because there's a lot of little achievements even there, but the biggest one is for me is helping people overcome fears. And I feel like it was a big achievement. It still is, and it will be because I was a very nervous learner when I learned how to drive, and now I'm working with a few trainers that I'll mention soon. Well, at the end, if it's okay. And with anxiety, severe anxiety, which I didn't really understand at first, but I'm kind of getting into it now. And it's to see somebody go from the fear of driving, the fear of cars, the fear of stalling, the fear of crashing, to them really taking responsibility for their learning and saying something like, I can do this. Helping somebody overcome their fears, it's an undescribable feeling that I'm happy to have experienced, and I'm happy to keep experiencing it until I retire because I'll be too blind to see 26 and a half meters away. I think that's the requirement.
There we go. A great answer. But I'm going to finish the second part of Penny's question. If you had a magic wand and could change anything you wanted, is there anything you would change and why?
I assume that that question refers to being a driving instructor. They're not a general. So my answer will be in the driving instructor industry. Because if I had a magic wand, I'd be a billionaire. Let's face it. Money fixes everything. I'm joking. um, so I would definitely, if I had a magic wand, reverse time, whatever, I would start earlier the process of becoming a driving instructor. I think that'd be one of my choices, definitely. And another one is looking back at my sort of weaknesses as being a PDI and ADI. I would have loved to be better as saying no, definitely. Um, I had to say no to a few people and just don't like the way I went about it. I'm not happy. I don't regret saying no. I'm very happy to have said no. But I think definitely it'd just be better at it. More proactive, definitely.
Nice. Gary, what's the funniest story from a driving lesson?
Yeah. Yeah, I asked him that question and I didn't think of how difficult that could be. But I've got a few ones. Let's have a look. So I've got three. That's 3 months. Hopefully it's going to be funny. Whenever, when it works really good with learners that maybe you have a firefight or maybe a little bit nervous. My usual joke, whenever blue light vehicle goes past, preferably police or undercover police, I'd be saying the usual joke. Nope, they're out to get you. Out to get you. See that roundabout that you've done? Look too fast. We didn't indicate. Out to get you now. That camera there that you thought you were doing 13 to 30. Nope. Over the speed limit. See? So if they come around now, so I won't do it if they're behind us because they get a managed risk, you know. But if they're like oncoming, I'll be saying stuff like, they're going to turn around now. What are you going to do if they come and chase you around? And it works quite well because it gets people to like have a laugh. And yeah, that's a good one. Another one is when I was with a learner. I'm not going to say his name, but he will, if he watches the podcast, he'll know who it is. We're approaching a pedestrian crossing, and I see a pedestrian. I don't recognize the pedestrian straight away, but I see a pedestrian, and he's kind of running, he's jogging towards the pedestrian crossing. And I'm looking at the learner, no reaction. I'm looking at the feet, no reaction. Have you seen the pedestrian? No reaction. Hit the dual controls nice and slowly. And you know, we've stopped. He's still pressing the gas. So it's like he clearly didn't see him. And I go, okay, that's fine. I'll stop for you. You haven't seen a pedestrian. Oh, I mean, you haven't seen my uncle that's having a jog now. It was actually my uncle that he nearly killed. So it was a good, funny conversation with both my learner and my uncle the next day, which he laughed about. He said, "Yeah, pull the face there because it was a bit of a harsh
Hopefully,
break."
hopefully he thanked you.
Yeah, no, he was cool, but he's been a teacher for so many years as well, so he knows I'm a driving instructor now. And the third one is Lee. You probably remember this. If not, I'll just remind you. I went to his workshop, and before he started the workshop, I was there like nervous. I don't know what's going on here. But there was a few other people that kind of either have been there before or they were more knowledgeable than I am. And Lee was preparing like his presentation or whatever it was. And all of a sudden, he drops his pen and he goes like, "Ooh." And I hear a voice in the back. "Hey up, Lee, what were you thinking about just before you dropped that pen? And how did that make you feel?" And I didn't get the joke straight away, but then as the workshop progressed, I was like, "Oh, okay, I'm supposed to ask about thoughts and feelings." And then it just kind of clicked in. But everyone started laughing. I was like, "I don't get it." That was another funny one. Well, that's all I got.
We have got some good ones there. You done better than me and Gary on his episode. So we've got another question from Sean. What was your initial reaction to passing? I assume part three. So yeah, we'll go with what was your initial reaction to passing part three?
Well, we kind of covered this a little bit, but I was in the car with my learner. The examiner said the usual thing. I'm going to go in the test center and, you know, do something for about 5, 10 minutes, and then I'll come back out and see how it goes. But literally, he came out of the car, and I was like, surely I passed. Like, surely, surely. I was me and the learner were like, and he had no idea. He was like, "Have you passed, Stefan?" I'm like, "I don't know, but I just don't see why I failed." And then he waves at me. I get out of the car and he says, "Congratulations, you passed." And I had a little bit of a, "Oh, yeah, it makes sense." And then we had a chat about how it all went. And I finished with the examiner. I sort of like pop around the corner and the learner sat in the car. He's like this, like, "What's happened? What's happened?" And I'm like, "Yes, we passed." So that was kind of my reaction. And obviously celebration. I had a bit of cake at home. Always, everything is always better with cake.
Nice. And then we've got the second part of Sean's question. What was the favorite CPD you did?
Yeah, so I've got a few here. My first 40 hours before I got the PDR license. Yeah. I'm not sure if you can count it as CPD, but for me, it was really, really fun. The becoming a driving instructor, you know, getting the hang of watching the pupil, giving directions, plenty of time, you know, appropriately, using the door controls, all that. Well, for me, it was really, really fun. So I'm gonna count it and I put it in there because it's my favorite. I'm always gonna remember it. Um, knowledgeable instructor training, in-person workshop. That was something I'll remember for quite a while. really dig into how people learn. So many light bulb moments. I had some questions as well. That was nice. Also being proactive. Didn't really know the difference between reactive and proactive. So then another light bulb moment. And another one, I did mention it before, but Bob Morton's workshop, where another penny dropped about adapting. You've got to give value for money, and that was one of my favorites. So if you can, I'd recommend it.
Cool. Becky, what advice would you give to a PDI 1 week before their part 3, or the best advice you were given prior to your part 3?
I want to take the first part of that question because I remember that one. And please remind me of the second part a little bit later because I usually forget.
Yep.
What advice I give to a PDI a week before your part 3? There's plenty of time left. You can do a lot of things in 1 week, and that involves some of the things that I can think of. Zoom, even in car training, emergency in car training, you never know how one of the trainers might have time for you. 1 week before, you could have a lesson with the pupil that you picked to warm up, and then find another golden need. I don't have somebody that they haven't had a lesson in 4 weeks. That makes it a little more difficult. And something that I did and worked so well for me. I told my wife, I said to my wife, I am going to go and drive for about 3-4 hours. And I'm going to go drive that route that I had planned for my part 3. And I'm going to go to any place around that route that I don't know. And I'm just going to see what it's like. What's around the corner? What's around the corner? Can I pull up in here? Are there road markings here? Is there a school there? Okay. What times is it open, shut? Everything that you know. Even if you know the area, that 1 hour, 2 hour drive on your own might even make you, 10% calmer when you pass through because you've been there, you know the route. So my advice is there's time. Do something about it. Don't just sit in the house. Fingers crossed. Now, do something. And what was the second part?
Or the best advice you were given prior to your part 3?
Best advice. Trust yourself. Trust yourself. You've done a lot of CPD, hopefully. And so it doesn't really matter if the examiner is in there or not. Do the job that you're supposed to do. Identify goals and needs, keep the car safe, and teach around goals and risk.
And that is the questions done, Stefan. Thank you very much for going through them. Do you have any final points that you would like to make or any messages that you would like to share?
Yes. So there's only one point I'd like to make. If anyone's been watching this and you actually bared through the whole episode, because I can be a little bit boring sometimes. So one key point, if in doubt, please get more training. Lots of trainers say this. They don't say it enough. They'll have to keep saying it because there's always going to be people and PDIs that they're not quite sure what they're supposed to do, or they want to cut you short. No, just get as much as you need until you are be able to say to yourself before you sit your part 3, I can do this, and I won't be nervous on part 3, or if I am, it's a little bit. And then the message, if it's okay with you, I just want to give a little bit of a shout out to a few people.
Please do. And yeah, give some information on where people can find whoever the shout outs are if needs be.
I won't have the links, but it's just so easy to find them all over
Yeah,
social
that's fine.
media. Yeah, groups and all sorts. The first shout out is to my wife. You have been so patient when I was trying to qualify, and sort of supported me along the journey. So I'm happy to sort of like reap the rewards with you. Thank you very much. To Paul, my initial trainer, We had so much fun. I really enjoyed the lessons with you. The 40 hours of training and the after one, he gave me some really good feedback after that. He's continuously helping people and improving himself as well. So thank you very much, Paul. Obviously, Nick and Lee from Knowledgablee Instructor Training for being knowledgeable, for helping people, such as myself, for the workshops that you do, the video hub that you have, and I'll be seeing you soon anyway, April the 3rd and 4th, so we can catch up. Bob Morton, he's an amazing guy, such a nice guy, and I think he actually came back from retirement just to help people out with workshops and one-to-one. So he's a great guy. No, shout out to you. Obviously you, Josh and Terry Cook for having these podcasts. You really are helping people. You are spreading awareness. You know, for anyone that's watching, you're going to be 1% better with every episode. Even though some episodes might be really entertaining or really boring, trust me, just keep watching them. So thank you for your work. Kev Tracy Field as well, signed up for them recently, the academy. Very good with nervous and anxious drivers. We have like Zoom sessions every month and Q&As, really worth the money, guys. If you want to help people out with anxiety, or if you have learning anxiety and you don't really know how to deal with that, they can help you out. So thank you very much, Kev and Tracy. And the last, it's not the last one. George, he's helped me pass my part 3. He was my learner. Got really excited when I passed. And so I want to do a shout out for him as well, because he just passed his driving test. And he nailed it. He nailed it with parallel parking and emergency stop. So well done.
Well done to him.
Yeah. Celebrations. And last one to all the examiners from the DVSA. Shout out for doing a really, really tough job sometimes. Sometimes you see them just walking back to the test center and you know they've had a really dangerous driver and they're just not being paid enough, I think. Everyone's shouting out for them.
I like that. I mean, some great names there, but examiners, yeah, they're doing their job. I very much don't mention much about the DVSA on the episodes. And I think that's a really nice message, because we can't change what's going on, but I wouldn't like to be in the examiner's shoes on some tests that go out. And fair play, they're doing it. And don't know what your test center's like, but Swindon, I have not got a bad word to say about any of the examiners here in Swindon. I think they do a great job.
Yeah, same here. So I'm in Burton. If any examiners are watching, thank you for doing a great job. I know it's tough. I know some people, come unprepared. So yeah, thank you.
And remember Stefan when his standards check comes around.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else on that list?
Not that I've wrote down, but if I did forget somebody, I do apologize. I just couldn't. I was trying to write some stuff down. It's like, who else? I just can't remember everyone. Sorry.
There's a lot. There's some great names there. And I hope everyone's enjoyed listening to your story. I certainly have. And I'd like to thank you for your time coming on tonight and having a chat with me. I've really appreciated it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
So thank you very much to Stefan for tonight's episode, and thank you to our sponsors, Knowledgablee Instructor Training. Just head to www.adikit.co.uk to see all of their award-winning CPD courses and workshops. Be sure to check them out. You can also check out Talking Send with Dr. Julia Malkin, MBE. And this is a platform aimed to help us with neurodiverse learners in the car. So lots of short videos helping you understand ADHD, autism, dyslexia, dyspraxia, dyscalculia, and lots of other things that we might see in the car. And that can be found on Facebook or on Patreon. Just search for Talking Send with Dr. Julia Malkin, MBE. Thank you.